Hi, and welcome to the second podcast of Minecraft. Here we are talking to Dr. Deepti Puranik on forensic psychology, criminology, and justice systems. In the last episode, we understood how her journey was in forensic psychology, why she started it, and all of that. And in the second episode, we are going to dive deep into the justice systems and forensic psychology. So, if you haven't watched the last episode, I would strongly recommend go back and watch the last episode and then watch this because it's been designed in such a way that both the episodes are connected. I hope you get maximum value out of this podcast. Hi, ma'am. Welcome back to the second episode of
Right.
Minecraft.
Hmm.
Yeah. In this, we'll be diving deep into legal systems, justice, and the forensics part of it. Ma'am, the question
Okay.
that I want to ask is how does a forensic psychologist contribute in a legal cases from
Hmm.
a crime scene behavior analysis to courtroom testimony?
Okay. So see, as a forensic psychologist plays various roles at various stages. So obviously, first stage would be in terms of the investigative stage, wherein wherein the psychologist can even help the investigative officer um,
Hmm.
kind of analyze the crime scene. So we can do techniques like behavioral evidence analysis and all, which can be conducted. And based on that, you are able to understand the behaviors that have been left over on the crime scene. So that
Right.
can be analyzed, which can give leads towards the profile. Similarly, you can do techniques like criminal profiling. So that is where, as a psychologist, you can create profiles of the offenders based
Right.
on various crimes. So especially in serial killing cases and all, they look at what is the signature or what is the modus operandi, analyze
Hmm.
those patterns, and then based on that, create a personality profile or a profile of an offender that the investigating officers can then look for. There's another very important work that psychologists do is psychological autopsy. So,
Hmm.
psychological autopsy is understanding the mental state of the deceased. So, what
Hmm.
was the reason for the death of this individual? Now, there are again two types of psychological autopsy. One is suicide psychological autopsy, which is done in cases wherein, as per the medical report, obviously the cause of death was because of suicide, while there
Right.
are equivocal deaths wherein the death is not sure whether it is because of suicide or accidental or whether it was a homicide. So, in such cases, you can perform equivocal psychological autopsy. Apart
Okay.
from that, obviously, we do so these tests can be done for within what is done in psychology in the investigative field. Then, when it comes to actually after the person has been arrested, probably in the prisons and all, you need to look for psychological distress that an individual will go through when they are obviously as an under trial in a prison. Apart
Hmm.
from that, when the case is to be tried in the court, a
Hmm.
psychologist can understand help the person to understand what are the charges that have been put forth against them. So whether they
Hmm.
had the ability to look at or ability to perform a particular action and all. Then you also do, like I told you, criminal responsibility. You do analysis of criminal responsibility, or for that matter, insanity defense. In India, we obviously don't have so much, but there is a lot of work which is done in eyewitness testimony. So, when the
Right.
eyewitness is giving the testimony, how much is accurate is the testimony. Apart
Hmm.
from that, obviously, when we look at juvenile offenders, so there's a lot of work which has been done on the rehabilitation side. So, when it comes to rehabilitation, psychologists will do lot of rehabilitative work like introducing various programs based on CBT or REBT based programs or individual therapeutic programs for individuals. Then, especially in juvenile offenders. the individuals who are in the age of 16 to 17, whether to assess whether they should be tried as a child in the juvenile court or whether they should be tried as an adult. So that's where a psychologist will do a thorough assessment of the cognitive ability of an individual. So this is
Right.
how these psychologists will be helping.
Okay. Right. Right. Got it, ma'am. Ma'am, this is kind of very curious and inquisitive question. We have been seeing terrorism throughout,
Hmm,
right? And
hmm.
also see that terrorists have, they say that their mind is, they're like well trained to act in a particular way. So
Hmm.
how do you look at it, ma'am? How is that upbringing done for them? How is the process from your
Okay. See,
perspective?
it would be very difficult to actually pinpoint on one particular reason. But the interviews that I had with individuals who were involved in these activities or terrorism activities, most of them, there had been some incidents of child abuse as well. So, somewhere as a child, obviously, there were thoughts which had been put in that mind and they will have to take revenge for what had happened to them as a child. So, that was something which was obviously very peculiar, which was observed in many of the individuals. But another important factor that has been seen is what we understand through social psychology is the social influence. So, when you study various principles of social influence and principles of persuasion, so these are the tactics which had been used for a very long time to kind of, I wouldn't say brainwash, but for people to believe in something very strongly. So when we look at terrorism, obviously if they are into an act, it is because they believe what they are doing is right. So from their perspective, what they are doing is the right thing.
Right,
From
right.
obviously the judiciary perspective or from a human perspective, obviously the actions are not something which are acceptable in a society or for
Right.
that matter for the country. So that is how you need to, that's what my perspective on it.
Thank you, ma'am. Got it. Ma'am, what reforms would you like to see in our society and legal system from an experience point of view? Like, what do you think?
See, one important aspect is when we talk about rehabilitation, where does the rehabilitation, I would say, fail is because somewhere as a society, we are not ready to accept the individuals who have already served their punishment as being a normal, helping them come normal in a society, adjust to the society. So now if we as a society don't help them adjust to these various aspects, then it becomes certainly difficult that what kind of job opportunities are we going to provide them? How do
Right,
they
right.
survive after coming out of prison? What about labeling that occurs when we, have been, they have been arrested or tried off then act? So all these factors certainly contribute a lot when we talk about reformative actions, that's where when
Right.
we have our planning on reform programs, we need to look at various aspects.
Hmm, hmm, hmm. Ma'am, this is like the very often asked and controversial question. Are criminals
Hmm.
born or are they made? What does science say?
Um, See, science doesn't talk about whether they are born or they are being made because there are various theories. There are biological theories which have shown that yes, there is genetic influence. But along with biological factors, there have been lot of psychological as well as social factors that have seen to be contributing to a criminal behavior. So when we talk about, I won't say that a criminal is born or a criminal is made. It would be, there's no one single factor that actually can decide upon it. So, it's obviously could be a mixture of ample of factors. It's a very complex relationship that needs to be in.
Yes, ma'am. Ma'am, you have done many cases. So you have interviewed a lot of criminals and who have been a part of all of this. you go through a lot of you might go through a lot of emotional turmoil at that point of time
Hmm.
to
Hmm.
understand. So how do you deal with that?
See, one important thing is as a therapist, I need to accept that I also need therapy at some point of time.
Yeah.
Or as
Yes.
a psychologist, I mean, as a psychologist, you need to be open to that idea that, yes, there are going to be times when things are not going to be as you expect. There will be lot of pressure, there will be lot of stress, and there would be lot of emotional turbulence which will take place. But that is when you need to firstly take a step back, okay, look at things from an outside perspective, that why has this particular thing affected me so much. So you need
Mm,
to do lot of introspection. So
mm, mm,
introspection, observation are two aspects or two which will certainly give you lot of insight into your own emotional turmoil. And then
mm,
obviously we have like I said, as a psychologist, I need to take therapy. So if I feel that yes, I'm not able to control this behavior, or I'm not able to handle this situation on my own, and I would need someone to talk to, then obviously the best person would be to approach another psychologist or a psychotherapist who can help me deal with this situation in a better manner.
mm, mm. Got it, ma'am. Ma'am, for young psychology students who are interested in forensic psychology, what
Hmm.
qualities or mindset do they need to have?
One, important qualities I would say is openness to
Mm,
experience is very important. Okay,
mm,
so you need to be extremely open to new learnings every day. So I can't say I have studied this, so now I don't want to look at it from any other perspective.
mm, mm,
Secondly, very important quality that you need is to be as objective as possible. So you need to understand that as a human, obviously my biases are going to come in way when I'm dealing with the cases. And if my
mm,
bias is coming in the way, how do I deal in that particular situation? So,
mm.
that's where being objective is extremely crucial when we are looking at the entire psychological perspective.
Yes, ma'am.
Third
Yeah.
quality, obviously, other qualities we would look at is having a lot of patience. So, we expect things to happen very fast. While
Mm,
when you look at forensic work, it takes a lot of time.
right, right.
Things
Mm,
don't
mm,
go the way you expect them to. So now
mm,
you have to be extremely patient with the situation. So I would say
mm,
these would be the three main qualities that I would say is what should
mm.
be there with the students.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Ma'am, right now, also, if we look at forensic psychology, it's a very niche subject, right?
Hmm.
What,
Hmm.
according to you, would be the scope of forensic psychology in the future?
See, when you look at forensic psychology, there's a lot of scope. If you look at all the field, there's certainly a lot of scope for forensic psychology. What is important is, as psychology students, we need to create lot of awareness about the field of forensic as well, because lot of
Mm,
emphasis will always be given to physical evidences, but the
right.
psychological evidence or the psychological factors that are kind of, I would say, the underlying behind the crime, that has to be analyzed. So I cannot ignore it. Maybe it cannot be used as a primary evidence, but certainly ignoring the brain
Mm,
behind any criminal behavior should not be ignored, and in fact should be analyzed in depth from a
mm, mm,
complete objective perspective. So that is very crucial. But as when we look at the scope of forensic psychology, there is lot of scope, and students can, you know, depending
mm.
on what is your interest area, you need to develop your skills in that particular.
Right, right, right. Yes, ma'am. And what are the organizations that provide, for example, one is the teaching sector where they can like they can pursue their career in. Secondly, they can work into assessments, interventions, right? Ma'am, what are such organizations that provide, cater to all of this?
See, basically, there are obviously academic institutions which, when we talk about teaching, so forensic psychology is taught in most of the academic and universities. So obviously, that is one factor. Every state has a forensic lab. Okay,
Mhm.
so we have central forensic laboratories, we have state forensics laboratories. Each lab will have a forensic psychology section. So that is again
Right.
a place where students can obviously work with. Then, like I said, every state, or for that matter, even central government, we have lot of prisons. So every state, so we have lot of prisons. So if you look at it state-wise, also students have lot of opportunities to work in prisons. There are ample of NGOs which are doing lot of rehabilitation work. So students can also work in rehabilitation work. Also, when we look at forensic, we always think about it from the crime perspective. However, forensic psychology has application in civil cases as well as on corporate crimes as well. So that is again something where students can work in, like in civil cases when it comes to custody of child or guardianship or psychological report for children under institutional care. So, that is again an area where students can work at. So, as such, there are ample of areas where students can actually.
Right, right, right. And we can also see that this is one of the growing fields uh, from
Yes.
considering different times. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Deepti ma'am, thank you so much for being a part of this podcast and sharing your insights. It really means a lot to me, and there are a lot of viewers who are interested in the field of forensic psychology. That's why I wanted to do this. And thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you so much for being a part of this.
Welcome.
Just